Hey guys, glad you stopped in. So today we're gonna do almond cupcakes. I know yesterday I couldn't decide whether we were gonna do the banana coconut custard or cobbler or the almond cupcakes, but I think we're gonna do the almond cupcakes. Now I'm not a huge fan of almond, not really, at least not almond flavoring, but these are really good. Hands down really good. They're soft, they're moist. I know the batch that I made a few weeks back of them, as per our discussion, they stayed moist for 4 days at least, because she only ordered a dozen and I made 2 because I wanted to see what they taste like. I've never made an almond cupcake before, and I thought this would be a good way to try it. I'll make a double batch. So I did, and I'm here to tell you they're amazing. They got a really nice balance of almond and vanilla, and the whipped topping that we're gonna put on top is a buttercream icing, but I learned how to make it light and fluffy like a whipped topping, and I'm here to tell you it tastes really, really good. I was quite impressed. And maybe you guys already knew because you guys are smart and been baking a lot longer than I have, and probably could teach me more than most people. You guys have forgotten, I'm sure, but I learned, and I'll share it with you, as I always do. But no, I think you're going to enjoy these ones. That being said, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is your first video. I hope you get something out of this one. Maybe check out some of my other ones. If you're returning to the channel or one of our new subscribers, thank you, and welcome back. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you consider subscribing. And while we're on the topic, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. That's important. Gets us out in the algorithm. I know this time of year, at least I have found over the years, things really slow down with YouTube as far as views and thumbs up, which makes it all that much more important to get those likes and those shares out there. It keeps us going, right? Keeps the village growing, even if it is slow. Even a good neighborhood slows down on the sale of a house every once in a while. Comments are always welcomed. All I ask is if you want to disagree, that's fine. You can disagree. Nobody gets along all the time. Everybody has a little variance on an opinion, so to speak. Just be nice. Think before you type. That's all we ask. Yeah, I think that's it. I will give you all your measurements in tablespoons, teaspoons, and cups. I will also give them to you in milliliters and grams. That way everybody can play along, no matter where you live at. Which is kind of cool if you think about it. The fact that there's 2 different ways to measure things, and I have a preference, but anyhow. That being said, why don't we get down here to the counter and we'll get started on these lovely cupcakes, all right? Hold on for me 1 second. Okay, we are down here at the counter. Not that you had to go far, I literally just moved the camera down, over and down a little bit, but it gives the illusion my kitchen's bigger, even though it isn't quite yet. We're getting there, right? We're working on it. So, things we will need for this recipe. As always, I will recommend a scale. They're important, especially with making cupcakes. So, first thing we're going to do is set our oven to 375 degrees. I'm going to use my stand mixer with a paddle attachment. You can also use a just hand mixer. You can even use a spoon. These aren't a spoon in a bowl. These aren't that, there isn't that much beat it hard, beat it soft, things of that nature. But I would recommend using, unless you've got really good wrists and arms, use a hand mixer or a stand mixer. You will also need at least a bowl or 2. I have the one that comes with this, and then I've got another one right here for dry goods. Alright, so to get started, we're going to get started on the dry goods first. Let me get you down here a little bit where you can see the rest of the counter, because that's really making me nuts. Yeah, I often cannot find a balance between you guys being able to see me and my face and the whole picture and what I'm doing on the counter. I think it's weird that it cuts off part of my head. See, if I stand up straight, you guys lose my forehead. But anyhow, so first thing we're going to do is start with dry goods. It's only 3 ingredients. First thing is we got some all-purpose flour in here, and it's 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and that is 300 grams. All right, so just regular old plain old flour that you would use for anything. To that, we're going to add 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder at 10 grams. We'll go ahead and get that in there. And the last thing I'm gonna add is a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of kosher salt. You know, and you could sift this through if you've got a sifter or I want to say a strainer, but that's not right. A screen to run it through. I don't know why I have a hard time remembering that, but we're just gonna use a whisk. And we're gonna whisk this together real quick and then simply set it aside. So when you set your oven at 375 degrees, I didn't really mention it just because I don't do anything special with them. You're gonna need 24, this makes 24 cupcakes if you do it right. And you just wanna go ahead and get the liners in your cupcakes, or in your cupcake tins. So we got that together, and we'll just set this aside, like always. And then the next thing we're gonna do is our wet ingredients, right? So first thing I'm gonna put in here is my butter, and and it is sorry, 3/4 of a cup, which is a stick and a half of butter, or oh, I didn't write down the weights. Wait, don't tell me. It would be 57 plus 114 is 171. Yes, 171 grams, stick and a half, 3/4 cup. And we're gonna take that and we're just gonna cream this. So we're gonna, get it nice and smooth. We're gonna turn it from a stick, even if it's at room temperature, and we're gonna turn it and we're gonna cream it. It will take about a minute, maybe, or two. All right, so we got our butter creamed, easy peasy. Just like such. We get it off the paddle attachment. That'd be perfect. But now, I know you guys have probably heard me say a million times, but I repeat it because you never know. This could be somebody's first time on this channel or with me on this channel. You want to scrape your bowl down. Even though I will say, after we did the adjustments on our stand mixers a couple weeks back, it does not miss much. I mean, at all. That was probably the best thing that I should have read in the instructions when I got it, but I didn't. But I learned it down the road to ever happen to me in the world of mixers. So, got our butter off the edges, back towards the middle. The next thing I need to add in here, now you guys can probably hear my good friend and neighbor Bo out there next door barking. He does. That's all Bo does. He just likes to bark. I used to think he did it because he was just a little simple, but come to find out, he goes up and down the fence line barking because he's trying to find the dogs that live next door to on this side, back behind us, back behind him. He just likes to bark and try to find his friends. So it's okay. So we got our butter creamed. Next thing we're gonna put in here is 1.5 cups of sugar. Right, so 3/4 cup of butter, 1.5 cups of just regular old plain granulated. Gonna put it on my cereal sugar, or in my coffee, or in my tea. Nothing better than sweet tea. Not good for you, but quite tasty. And then we're gonna run this on the mixer on medium high until about 4 or 5, until we get a nice smooth mashed potato like light and fluffy consistency. So we are light and fluffy, and I'll show you real quick what I'm talking about, because I find most people on when they do recipes don't really describe what they're talking about. It took me a long time to figure out what just combined, well combined, incorporated, light and fluffy. There are so many terms in baking that it can make your head spin, really. And it all comes down to mixing times, is what it comes down to. Some things like just incorporated is basically you mixed it just enough to get everything just wet, combined, and then you stop. And the idea is that you don't overwork the flour or the yeast, and you're not putting too much air into it. Well incorporated means you've beaten it for a minute and you're trying to get smooth. But light and fluffy, there is light and fluffy. Mashed potato consistency. That is what light and fluffy is. If it looks like it could pass as mashed potatoes on your dinner table, you have arrived. So we got that done. Scrape down our sides as always. That is quite the important, because that way you can ensure that everything's mixed. Mixers, blenders, all of that, even hand mixers with a bowl. have dead spots where they don't reach things. There is our 375 degrees. We're good. So you want to get in there and scrape, make sure everything is mixed well, or at least combined. Ooh, get that taken care of. All right, so we got 2 ingredients left to go. In here, I've got 1.5 teaspoons of almond extract, and I've got 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I just mixed them together. And I will say, like I said, I'm not an overly huge fan of almond. Not really, but this tastes good in. And I think the biggest problem I have is when you first pour that extract, man, it pops you right in the face. So I've got our almond and vanilla extract in there. 1.5 teaspoons of almond, that's 6 grams. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, that's 2 grams. Now I've got 2 large eggs at 50 grams each. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one at a time, right? No different than baking a cake or any other cupcake. And I'm gonna mix those until I can't see any of the yellow in the egg, means it's incorporated, and then I will put my other one in. All right, we have got our eggs just incorporated, which means as soon as that second one, I couldn't see any more streaks, I stopped. Yeah, that's just incorporated. Yeah, I had streaks, and then all of a sudden I didn't have streaks because and you gotta watch. You know, it's not something you can just, I mean, you could walk away from it, but you might have a mess. Now we'll just scrape it down again just to ensure I don't have any streaks. See how quick that was? Quick and easy. Now, the last step, oddly enough, in the directions, the original recipe that I got this from, I really wish I could remember where I got it from. I'll have to look. As it was a good recipe, but it read kind of funny. It was one of those recipes that if you're new to baking, you could struggle following, because it did not give you accuracy all the time. And because the last 2 steps in this are quite simply, sorry, I had to look to make sure my camera was actually running. For some reason it looked like it wasn't. It was just add your dry ingredients and add your milk. Now we could do that, but you run the risk when you put that much dry good into your batter all at once and try to mix it together good. You run the risk of exciting the glutens that are in the flour, and that's the stuff that gives you snapback. And you can run into problems when you're baking it. It may not rise proper, things of that nature. So we're gonna do this in 3 parts. So I'm gonna put 1/3 of my flour in there, right, or my dry mix. And this doesn't have to be precise. You don't have to go, okay, it's this much, you divide it into 3. You don't have to do that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix this on low so I don't get a bunch of flour in my face until it's just combined. Okay, we are just combined, right? So actually I'm not even gonna turn it off, and I'm just running it on low, the lowest setting. In this case on my mixer it's stir. And now I'm gonna I've got 1¼ cup of milk, and it's whole milk and it's at room temperature. And I'm gonna put 1/2 of that in now. Once again, you don't have to be precise. All right, we got our milk incorporated. Now we'll take another 1/3 of our, which will be about 1/2 of this, and of our dry, and put it in there. And then once that's incorporated, I'll finish it off with the milk, and then I'll put the last of the dry in there. You always want to end on dry when you're doing something like that. So if we wouldn't have done 3 to 2, we would have done 2 to 1. I would have put 1/2 the dry in, all the milk, then the other 1/2 of the dry. But you always want to end on dry, and don't ask me why. I just know that's what the professionals have told me, and that's what I've always done. Okay, so we got our batter done. I went ahead and put the mixer away for time, but there we are. And now this isn't it's not a thick batter, but it's not a thin batter. So, because I also have a really neat funnel tool that has a trigger on it that opens up the bottom and will allow a certain amount to go out, but this is just thick enough I can't use it, which is okay because I will use the tried and true method. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my scale on, and if you're using the scale to measure out, you want that equal balance, which I highly recommend. Although it's not necessary. I mean, if you don't have one, that's okay too. Just you're going to want to fill them about 2/3 full, okay? And that's where it gets tricky. What is 2/3? Where I know and I can show you what my version of 2/3 is, because like I said, I measure out all my cupcakes, and they all measure out the same. It really doesn't matter what recipe I use. They're all right around 46 grams. And when I can't use my my gig, this is how I do it. I have a small spatula here, which small spatulas are the greatest thing ever. And I just simply weigh out 46 grams in each cupcake paper. I don't even know what these are called, but cupcake papers. Yeah, so like in this case, it'd be 46, 92, and then 138 for all three of these. And then that way we got them going. And then once I get all my batter in there, here we go. I can show you what I'm looking at there. You get these plopped in here, and then I just plop them in. I can do 3 at a time, and it doesn't take long at all. And like I said, I know that this recipe I should get 24 out of, but that is about 2/3. That's 2/3 full right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these filled. I'll get the other 21 filled, and then when I come back, we can talk about how long to bake them for. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so we got all our cupcakes, the liners filled. Gave us exactly 24. Exactly. Scraped the bowl down to the very last one. Had just enough left over that I can't tell you that I licked the spatula because it has raw egg in it. And you should never do that. You can get salmonella. I'm obligated to tell you that, but at the same time, I probably licked the spatula to get the last remaining bit out. And you should always taste your batter. As a baker, you want to taste your product as you go to ensure you got goodness. So, next thing we're going to do. Our oven is preheated 375 degrees. It's been there for a long while. We're going to put this on the center rack. We've got our rack in the center. We're going to put them both in there. I am going to set my timer. In my case, I'm going to do 19 minutes. Now, your oven, it probably varies from mine. It may not, but every oven is different, right? They could have been made on the same assembly line, same day, right next to each other, and they're going to bake differently. Quick reasons why: I use mine all the time, so I'm wearing it out quicker. You may not use yours all the time, so you're not wearing yours out as quick. So things like that vary. Same make and model, same day made, parts go bad, different times, things like that. Anyhow, I'm going to tell you 18 to 22 minutes. You test it no different than you would a cake. We're going to toothpick test it. I do the 2 in the center of the 12, right? And I insert it in the center of those 2 cupcakes, and I should be able to pull it out and have some crumb on it, but no batter, right? It should come out essentially clean, just a little bit of crumb. When I get back, after I take these out of the oven, we'll take a look at them, we'll test them, to make sure they are done, and talk about what to do next. All right, I'll see you here in just 1 second. Out of the oven now, I'm pretty sure unless there's something weird happen, they're done, but we're gonna check them anyhow. And the reason why we're gonna check them anyhow is because you never know. Today could be the day where my thermostat quits working in my oven, and it's not really 375 degrees, it's only 370, and now they're not done. So you always want to check, no matter how well you know your oven. And I'm not going to shut it off till I check them. So we'll do the first batch, get that toothpick all the way in there, and that's good, and that's good. And I've never had luck showing you guys with this. It's always kind of blurs out because it wants to focus on me. But you can see there's just like a couple crumb on there, and then we'll go ahead and check the other one. Because once again, you never know. Just because it was good on one side, it's not necessarily good on the other. And those are good. And it's funny because in time, when you bake often enough, you'll know the feeling of it. Another thing you can look for, we'll go ahead and turn this off. Let me turn it down, bring it down just a little bit. And I do this with cakes, but you can do it with cupcakes also. You just gotta be a little more careful. So with cakes, you should be able to touch the top of them and you should have bounce back. We got the same here. See how that, you hit that and it bounces back, kind of like a tight snare drum. You can do that also. You just want to be careful you don't land on the pan because those bad boys are still hot. Okay, so now we are going to let these sit right like this for about 10 minutes. Once that 10 minutes is up, even 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, either way. Once I'm able to touch the pan without burning myself, I will go ahead and take these out. And that's gonna take about 5 to 10 minutes. I'll take them out, put them on the rack that this is sitting on, and we're gonna let those go down to room temperature. Meanwhile, when I come back, we'll go ahead and make our icing up. All right, hold on for me just one moment. Okay, so cupcakes are cooled. We are ready to rock. Now what we gotta do is make some icing. This won't take long at all. It's a really simple icing. So in my stand mixer, you can also use your hand mixer, of course. I've got 2 sticks, 228 grams, 1 cup of unsalted butter. And I know I never mentioned it, but the butter I use is always unsalted. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna cream this butter up, and we want it to be softened, not necessarily room temperature. So when you put your finger on it, it shouldn't go all the way down to whatever you have it sitting on. But it should leave at least a mark. You don't want it too warm, but you want it softened up it can cream. All right, so butter is creamed. Let me grab my handy dandy rubber spatula. I have used the same 2 rubber spatulas now for probably the last, I don't know, many years. Me and Chris got these when we first got together for Christmas. So, hey, it's been at least 20 years. And they have served me well. But we got our butter creamed. Go ahead and get our bowl scraped right quick. And then the next thing we need to do, after we get this scraped, 2 seconds worth of scraping, is we are going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt and a liberal teaspoon, a guesstimated teaspoon of vanilla. About that much vanilla. I could have weighed it out or measured it, but nah. We're gonna live on the edge today with vanilla. So we're gonna go ahead and just get that incorporated. We wanna make it disappear. All right, now that our vanilla and salt have disappeared into the abyss of butter. Now when you cream butter, quick side note, in case you don't know, not only are you making it so it's not a stick anymore, but butter has obviously a yellow tint to it. But when you cream it, it should no longer be yellow. It should be more white, unless it's just not. There are some butters out there that put so much yellow dye in them that it never really goes away. But for the most part, even if your butter has a yellow tint to it because it's butter, that should disappear when you cream it. All right, so we got our salt and butter in there. Our salt and vanilla in there. Of course, we have the butter in there. It's the main ingredient. The next thing we're going to need 2 more things. We're going to need some powdered sugar, which I've got 450 grams, 3.5 cups worth of powdered sugar. And you're going to need about 4 to 5 milliliters, or 4 to 5 tablespoons, which is 60 to 75 milliliters of heavy cream. And what we're going to do is I am going to take the powdered sugar 1 cup at a time. Now you'll hear some people say a 1/2 cup at a time, and if that's what you do, that's fine. I was always taught 1 cup, so that's what I do. I'm gonna put a cup in at a time, and then I'm going to put this on low, because if you don't, you're gonna get a face full of powdered sugar. And as I add the powdered sugar, if it starts to get too thick, I'll add a little bit of heavy cream. So I may not even use all this. When I get my last of powdered sugar in there, I'll check it, and if it's too dense for me to put into a piping bag, I'll just keep adding a little cream to it, a teaspoon at a time, until I get where I need to be. Okay, so I just got my last bit of powdered sugar in there. So now what I'm gonna do, now that I've got my milk in there, because I know it takes right around 4 tablespoons in my case to get the consistency I want, and I have that. But now to get that light, fluffy whipped, I'm gonna break all the rules of buttercream icing. I'm gonna turn this bad boy up, not quite the high, but at least 6 to 8. And I'm gonna let this run for a minute so that way I can get as much air into it as possible. Okay, so I got the icing whipped. Now, I'm gonna show it to you, but I don't really know how best to describe other than to show it to you and say that it should look light and fluffy, kind of like a cloud or really good whipped mashed potatoes, like you're trying to achieve no lumps. Is the best way I know to describe it. But all I did was, like I said, I put it up on 8, even spent a couple minutes on 10, which doesn't happen very often. But I let that thing go for a good 3 or 4 minutes. And what that does is just incorporates all kind of air in with that heavy cream, which is how you make whipped cream. And it fluffs it up and makes it light. It does a couple of things. It adds just the most amazing texture to it because it's super smooth and creamy. Versus like I for years I did the exact opposite and kept it low and slow. Based on that's how I do my cake icing. Exact same recipe. Well, I mean, I use a little more of each ingredient, but with my cakes, I went low and slow because what can happen is if you're not careful, you'll get a bunch of what looks like holes in your icing. And it's really nothing more than air pockets. And you don't want that when you're icing a cake if you can minimize air pockets. But I never quite got that. Yeah, I always had that traditional buttercream cake type gig, doing it that way. All right, so I put it in my piping bag. That's what I was doing. Cup, not that I can't do it by just wrapping it over my hand. It's just so much neater and easier to use a cup. Thing I learned with piping bags is you don't need a big piping bag. Even if you have a big piping bag, less more often is best. Gives you better control. I was always told via the people I follow on YouTube that you should have one hand to squeeze with, one hand to guide with, which I use the opposite way. But I have found that if you have less in it in a smaller piping bag, I can actually do this one-handed, squeeze and guide all at the same time if need be, which allows you to do a little more with it. So all I'm gonna do is move that out of the way. And here, let me bring you in a little so that way you can kind of see what I'm doing. There we are. And I'm just gonna take this, and it's just something else I want to show you real quick. See that? See how it's uneven? See how that happened? I didn't smack down the cupcakes before I put them in the oven, and that was uneven in the paper. And it didn't do it with all of it, just these 3, 4 here. Rest of them are pretty well flat, but we're gonna hide that. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one hand, I'm gonna squeeze with my right, and guide with my left. It's a good basic way to learn how to ice. And I'm just using a star tip, and I'm just gonna go around in a circle and go like that and bring it up. And I'm gonna do that with all of them. So let me get these iced, and then when I come back, we will try one. All right, I'll see you here in just 1 second. All right, guys and gals, we are all iced. Here is our final project. I think it looks amazing. You'll have to overlook the great discussion of fresh strawberries going on in the living room that we can hear. The kids have come across some of the most amazing looking strawberries that are so full of flavor and so sweet. And they're a specific species, but I don't remember the name of them. But anyhow, we're discussing cupcakes. We'll leave strawberries for, I'd like to say another day, but you can always talk about strawberries, right? Because strawberries are amazing. So, that being said, we have baked them. The kitchen still smells good. We have got our icing. So now all we gotta do is try one. Now you will find some people will spray their liners before with a non-stick spray beforehand to keep the paper from sticking. But the reality of it is, I mean, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. But for the most part, if you use a good quality paper and let them cool properly, you'll never have a big tear or damage in them. But right there we are. I mean, that's our cupcake in its whole. So now we can try one and see how it tastes. That is the most beautiful cupcake. That the cupcake itself is oh so spongy, moist, soft, and I don't know if you can see in there or not, but it's got absolutely amazing crumb. Not too dense, not too light. It's perfect, not overbeaten, and you top that with that buttercream that is uber smooth and light from where we beat it on high, and you've got, in my opinion, a perfect almond cupcake. But give these a try. Sorry, I'm being a slob. You guys have got to give these a try. I think even if you don't like almond, unless you're allergic to almond and you just don't like almond, you'll like these. That balance of almond and vanilla is out of this world. Neither of them are too heavy. They complement each other nicely. Let me know if you give these a try. You won't be disappointed. You can leave me a comment down below. You can check us out on Facebook with Mr. Smith's Kitchen Facebook group. I am really hoping by next Monday I have a meeting with a developer to finish up our website. And now it'll be for the business, but you'll be able to see pictures of stuff there, and then hopefully in time it'll grow, and we'll have some recipes on there and things like that. But I'm very excited about it, and I can't wait to be able to officially share that with you. Like I said, I'm hoping by Monday. It'll be awesome. But anyhow, next week, no idea what we got going on for dinner or dessert. Never know. I just never know. I know, like I said yesterday, we're canning hamburger this Saturday as a canning video, and that'll be fun and exciting. I love to can. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like anything that involves science. Baking involves science. Cooking kind of involves science. It's just a loose science. Canning is a science, but it's an easy science to learn that's fun. And it can pay dividends in the long run. And then I think the following Saturday, I actually know what I'm going to do. I'm more than likely going to show you how to can up mandarin oranges. We haven't done them in a few years, but they're really tasty, and it's a good way to, especially if you can catch them on sale, to get them in a jar and make them last for those, colder days when you can't get out, don't want to go out, or you just don't have time to run out and get it. They're there. It's no different than doing apples or cherries or strawberries. It's a fruit and it's wonderful. But anyhow, till Saturday for hamburger, I love you. I love you very much. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Tell somebody else that you love them and love them very much. It's going to make them feel outstanding. They probably need to hear it. It's going to make you feel great to tell them either way it goes. Both of you are going to smile a little. And if you make them one of these almond vanilla cupcakes, I guarantee they're going to smile. It's going to lead to lots of conversation, probably a cup of coffee and an afternoon of good times. So, till Saturday, I love you. And I'll see you then. All right? Bye-bye.